This is ILTV on the Hour, bringing you the biggest stories from Israel and the Middle East in just 5 minutes. I'm Lidar Lazi, and today is day 635 of the war in Gaza. Let's get into all the top headlines at this hour. We begin with news that President Trump said that Israel had approved the presented measures to reach a 60-day ceasefire with Hamas. Despite the dramatic announcement by the U.S. president, mediators say that major hurdles remain. Trump insists that the parties could work together to come to a deal and urged Hamas to accept the proposal, saying it won't get better for you, it will only get worse. Prime Minister Netanyahu will meet President Trump next week in the White House. The meeting is set to focus on the recent war with Iran and the Gaza war. Trump said yesterday that he plans to be very firm with Netanyahu on the need to end the war in Gaza, and said that Netanyahu also wants a deal. He said he believes it can be reached within a week. And with the ceasefire being pushed by the American president, new details are emerging regarding the framework of the deal. The ceasefire would be just 60 days long and not entail a definite end to the war. According to the proposal, on day one of the ceasefire, 8 living hostages would be returned to Israel, and 2 more would be released on the 50th day. Qatari officials quoted Hamas demands that Israel remove itself from the aid distribution inside the Strip, a key move that would allow Hamas to assume power once again by stealing the aid, creating a black market of aid items, and of course, ensuing violence on the Gazan population. The plan also includes the release of 18 deceased hostages in 3 phases. Prime Minister Netanyahu held a series of discussions in the past few days regarding the hostages and emphasized that in this current phase, the return remains a priority and a goal of the war. Meanwhile, it's day 635 of the war in Gaza, and sirens were sounded in the Gaza-enveloped communities when 2 projectiles were fired from within the Gaza Strip. The rockets were intercepted by air defense, and there were no injuries or damages caused. In Gaza, the IDF is stepping up military operations to improve positions ahead of a possible ceasefire with Hamas in the coming days. The IDF confirmed that the 99th Division has returned to operate in the Strip. The division's current goals are the location and destruction of Hamas military sites above and below ground. So far, some 100 terror targets have been struck, including gunmen, weapons depots, command centers, and observation posts. While continuing the offensive, the IDF is also ready at a moment's notice to redeploy to defensive positions if a ceasefire is reached. And last night, Israelis in central Israel were forced to shelter upon hearing air raid sirens following a projectile that was fired from the Houthis in Yemen. The rocket was successfully intercepted outside of Israel's atmosphere, and there were no reports of injuries or damages. Last night's siren comes as the new ceasefire between Israel and Iran enters its 8th day, meaning Israelis had not needed to shelter in central Israel for a week. The Houthis claimed responsibility for the rocket and cited solidarity with the Palestinians as the reason for firing at Israeli civilian communities. Referring to recent airstrikes on the Iranian capital, Defense Minister Israel Katz said that Yemen's fate will be the fate of Tehran. U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee even suggested that the American B-2 bombers that did the job in Tehran need to take a visit to Yemen. And amid reports of mediated Israeli-Syrian normalization talks, IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir says that the military mission in the Syrian Golan is not yet over. Visiting Israeli troops inside Syria, Zamir conducted a field tour and security assessment alongside commanders from the IDF Northern Command. Zamil told officers that the IDF must remain highly alert, stressing the importance of a proactive defense in the Golan Heights, and added that if necessary, a military strike will be used against any potential threats. And that's a wrap on ILTV on the Hour, live from Israel and the Middle East every hour on the hour. Tune back in 1 hour for our next edition of ILTV on the Hour.